1348, nestled in the farthest reach of a dying forest, there lay a village untouched by maps and nearly forgotten by time. Its name was Black Hollow, though no one could remember who first called it that. The trees whispered there, even when the wind was still. By day, the villagers toiled in quiet dread. By night, they locked their doors and dared not look out the windows, even when the shadows moved. It began with a cough. A boy no older than 10 collapsed in the fields. Then a mother burned with fever, her skin blooming with blackened sores. No one knew why. Not yet. The village healer, old Marta, whispered of the Black Death, the same plague devouring the great cities far to the west. But Black Hollow had no roads, no visitors, no trade. The hollow had always been safe, until now. Some claimed the sickness came with the fog. Others swore they saw a figure in the woods, tall, cloaked in black, with a pale mask that glinted in the moonlight, a beak like that of a bird sniffing the air. But no one dared speak of it loudly. In Black Hollow, words carried farther than footsteps. The chapel bell rang once every morning, no longer for prayer, but for death. Each toll marked another lost soul. Then one morning, the bell didn't ring. Instead, a low creak echoed through the square, the village gates opening for the first time in weeks. And through the fog walked a man in black. The hollow remained silent that evening. Too silent. The usual howls of wolves and rustling of wind through the dead trees seemed to have vanished. When Father Osric returned to the chapel that night, the bell tower rang on its own. Once, twice, and then a third time. No one had pulled the rope. He stood frozen in the nave, staring at the tower above, the sound echoing like a dirge over the village. He whispered a prayer, but even his voice felt unwelcome in the space. The old oak pews creaked, though no one sat in them. Suddenly, the church candles extinguished themselves in unison. Something had been awakened. By dawn, word had spread that a cloaked figure had been seen standing at the forest's edge, always in the same place, unmoving, watching. Villagers who dared approach found only a small circle of scorched earth and the scent of rot. When asked about it, old Maren, the herb woman, whispered, "He's the herald. The hollow has chosen him as its voice." Later that week, one of the woodcutters vanished. His axe was found wedged into a tree, the blade twisted backward, as if the tree had screamed. The stranger remained. Elias, the town's orphan, had been hearing the whispers for days. Soft hisses coming from beneath the floorboards of the old granary where he slept. When he told Father Osric, the priest only pressed a finger to his lips. That night, Osric returned alone to the granary, tore up the stone floor, and uncovered a hidden crypt. The steps led deep into blackness, deeper than any cellar should go. On the walls were carvings of impossible beasts and wide-eyed men with no mouths. At the bottom was a sarcophagus, sealed not with iron or chain, but with strands of hair, still wet. He left it unopened, but not untouched. As days passed, food began to spoil within hours. The village's well water turned bitter, and animals birthed dead offspring with twisted limbs. The townsfolk began to speak in hushed tones of a curse. Children claimed to see faces in their reflections, mouths stretched wide, whispering backwards. Old Maren fell ill, covered in black boils. Before her death, she scrawled one last word into the dirt beside her bed: return. That night, a pale fog rolled into the village, thick enough to muffle screams. 2 more vanished before dawn. Osric delved into the Abbey's locked archives, a place even he feared. Dust lay thick like ash on tomes made of stretched hide. There, he found a single book bound in red thread. Its title was etched in a language long dead. He deciphered only fragments. The hollow is not a place, but a pact, a hunger made flesh. A page showed an ancient ritual, one that required 7 offerings of blood, each willingly given, each from a heart burdened by guilt. Osric closed the book slowly, eyes wide with the weight of his own past. He, too, had something to confess. One by one, the village voices began to vanish. At first it was hoarseness, then silence. No one could speak, no screams, no prayers. Only writing remained, and even ink began to fade after being written. It became clear the hollow fed on sound, on intention, on memory spoken aloud. In desperation, the villagers gathered in the chapel. Osric tried to pray, but only silence escaped his lips. He pointed toward the altar, where the summoning bell had cracked. Elias, the orphan, was the only one who could still speak, and he heard the voice calling from the crypt, beckoning him home. Elias descended into the dark alone, guided by whispers. The crypt was colder than before. The strands of wet hair now curled like vines around the sarcophagus. As he stepped forward, the stone lid slid open on its own. Inside lay a woman, pale as moonlight, eyes stitched shut, mouth agape. From her throat, a voice emerged, not hers, but many, layered in agony. He who listens becomes the vessel. He who accepts becomes the gate. Elias reached forward, not of his own will, and the hollow entered him. Elias returned at dawn. But it wasn't Elias anymore. His eyes had turned pitch black. His mouth moved, but the voice was of hundreds. He walked through the village slowly, and one by one, people collapsed in silence, souls siphoned by presence alone. Father Osric stood at the chapel doors, holding the red-bound book, tears in his eyes. He opened it to the final page, a single incantation that could bind the hollow once more. But it required a willing soul. He began to speak it. Elias turned to face him. The chapel's walls. Elias collapsed to the ground, the blackness fleeing his eyes. His body writhed as the hollow resisted. Osric fell to his knees, finishing the final line. The bell tower collapsed in a flash of blinding light. When the dust settled, the hollow was gone. But so was Osric. Elias awoke alone. From that day on, the village was quiet once more. Too quiet. And deep in the ruins of the chapel, a single strand of wet hair began to move.